Looks like I just stemmed one to try to catch up to those Hydralisks. They just barely managed to get out of there. Carrier with 7 kills. Could take down this hatchery. Some Hydralisks moving in to be able to push them back. And hatchery goes into the red. Almost made it. Not quite. I wanted to fall back here a little bit. Some transfusions going on there. Very important to keep that hatchery alive. I wanted to fall back until I could get some factories here producing siege tanks. We still don't have, if they probably would have pushed, picked off some of these forces here, might have made a big difference. See if they do that. Reinforcements have a long trek down to be able to make it. And another engagement. That Reaper going down. Don't forget, Hydralisks are light units. Take extra damage from the Reapers. Colossus inflicting a lot of damage here before it goes down. Carriers. There I go with my intelligent use of language there, as I'm sure some will appreciate. Carrier 13, 14 kills. This one with 5, really being able to move around this terrain, continue whittling down these Hydras as my forces move in, cut off even more. Carriers escape, not quite unscathed. Quite a bit of battle damage on this carrier here, but starting to rebuild those shields. Being cautious here, don't want to be caught off guard by all these Hydras before they can. Don't want to move too far away from these ledges in case needing to fall back. Setting up siege tanks on the Xel'Naga Watchtower. Not quite in the best position. Over here would have been better in range of these Hydralisks, and they just happen to move out of the way. But we take out that creep tumor. Important to be able to keep the Zerg creep from spreading. Hydralisks noticed that siege tank was there, able to move around. Infantry not in the best position to be able to protect that siege tank. Siege tank goes down. Able to inflict quite a bit of damage on those Hydralisks beforehand. But a lot of reinforcements on the way. Let's take a look at the base really quick. Another factory going down. Starport, those 5. If you take a look at the queue here, 5 barracks, almost constantly producing units off 3 resource patches. Could really use some repairs here. My SCVs have been trying to scramble around the map the whole time. They keep getting picked off due to the recent patch causing a repairing unit to have equal threat as the unit it's repairing. Controlling these watchtowers again. Earlier our opponents had control of the watchtowers. They've let that slip a little bit, and that could come into play here as we become more aware of the battlefield as it stands, able to know how to react to our opponents, know where to push, how to position. And those Hydralisks able to pick off 1 carrier. I wasn't ready to be able to follow up with them just yet. Observer here in the back a little bit, could be out in the front, start picking off these creep tumors as best we can. Looks like there was a scouting unit right there. Notice these cannons try to act as a little bit of a buffer in case they manage to push against this expansion or be able to harass. SCVs should really be over here. Look, this carrier is still highly damaged, but for some reason I just couldn't get my SCVs to follow units like I really wanted them to this game. As you can see up here, my production tab, for the most part, higher than, longer than most of the other players. Getting a very diverse army here, mainly Marines, Marauders, Reapers, siege tanks, probably some medevacs. Okay, and here we go. The Observer heading out in front. Colossus taking out some creep tumors. Using that 9 range to be able to take out those creep tumors and be able to fall back before the Hydralisks are able to respond. And we see some Corruptors here, a lot of Corruptors here, to try and counter these Carriers and Colossus. We'll see how much that comes into play here, as they even spot that Observer there, getting an Observer. I'm sorry, Overseer. Names are slightly similar. They could have possibly been worried about Dark Templar, as one should always be worried against a Protoss player, but also it's important to take down those Observers. It would reduce the Colossus production, and it would help protect their creep tumors, as creep spread is very important. Of course, upgrades are continuing to go up. Upgrades are very important, especially in these long, big matchups, the big battles, to be able to keep up on. Often the battle can be decided based on upgrades. And out of the factories, I saw those Corruptors switching over to Thors, getting out Thors to be able Corruptors, as basically pretty much any air unit like to clump up. The AoE damage of a Thor would be very beneficial to try to protect all of these carriers. A lot of carriers now. Looking at the army tab for the supply here. Both Zerg players a little bit behind. Teal a little bit behind. Purple pretty far behind at this point. Possibly used a lot of his resources into making these Corruptors and not any other units. Engagement here going down. Important to keep in range of these siege tanks. Not the best siege tank placement here, but Colossus moving forward, getting a lot of their AoE splash damage on these Hydras, and moving forward to engage, trying to move around a little bit to get the best positioning. Colossus actually drawing them into range of the siege tanks. You can see a few siege tank shots here, and the Colossus burning these Hydras into crispy little critters. And none of those Hydras are really in small enough number for this Terran infantry to be able to take a lot of them out. One thing you notice, there was not much Corruptors. We did not actually end up seeing those Corruptors. As you can see up here, there was a small engagement up here that I missed. A lot of action going on in 2 different parts of the map here. Drones being taken off the line, possibly to try and deal with this, but with 2 Colossus, 3 carriers, and look at this, 9 siege tanks. Hydralisk trying to push up here, make another counterattack, take down 1 Colossus, but taking massive damage from these siege tanks and Colossus, and even these Corruptors getting in. But they come into range of these Marines, Thors, try to position around my anti-air, but not going to do a whole lot here. I split up my army a little bit, able to stay on either side of my siege tanks and threaten this expansion while holding the front ramp. And looking at the army sizes, it looks as though this game could be coming to an end here. Looking at the unit tab, 4 Corruptors, 18 Hydralisks, and that's pretty much it versus 41 Marines, 3 Reapers, 4 Thors, 9 tanks, 4 medevacs, 17 Marauders, 5 carriers. It even shows interceptors on here, 40 interceptors. That's right, 4-0, and even getting immortals. 17 zealots here. Must have just really needed to get those resources spent. Even getting brood lords. Broodlord's probably a little bit too late here. Very strong unit with their long range, but not going to do a whole lot. They're going to try one more desperate attempt here to be able to take the game, but not going to happen, as those... Look at this, almost all of the siege tanks having range on this ledge here where those Hydralisks grouped up. And Broodlord's just a little bit too late. The players actually left the game, but I decided I wanted to stay just a moment. Sometimes I want to stay just a little bit to look at the army after the battle. And that'll be it for this epic matchup. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm really a big fan of these epic games where there's multiple engagements, not necessarily just one big engagement or a few small ones, but these very long games. Hope it was very exciting. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot. Don't forget to subscribe or thumbs up, comment, whatever you want to do to let me know you're out there. And thanks a lot. See you next time.